Welcome. I'm Faiz Rahman, and you're watching Cafe DC. Our guest today is Ambassador Cathy Russell. She heads the Department of Global Women's Issues at the Department of State. I'll just ask a plain first question. Why another department at the Department of State?
Well, actually,
And first, before you, thank you very much for joining us here in the studios of Voice of America.
Yes,
please,
I'm very
go ahead.
happy to be here. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
inviting me. My office was started in January of 2009. President Obama started it because he wanted to have a place where would really integrate all of the gender issues in one place. And the idea was we wanted to make sure that all offices and bureaus of the State Department took into consideration women's issues when they were doing their work. So it's a small office by State Department standards.
I guess you have about 24, 25 people?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah,
it's very small. I mean, a lot of offices at the State Department are 300 or more people. So it's a very small office, but the idea is that it's a place to really make sure that women's issues are the focus point and that we can integrate those issues into the work of the department, into the diplomacy of the United States. And the purpose of that is to say that women should be front and center in all of the work of the department and all of the work of the diplomatic work of the United States government.
That's quite an undertaking, and
I'm
glad you have the president's support, and he directly appointed you for this post. Basically, when you talk about women's issues, there are lots of other issues already the United States is dealing with in the developing world, especially. I mean, it's such a complex foreign policy. Do you think it's a good idea at this point to add another facet and flank to already a complex piece of work?
Well, I think I would look at it differently, which is that we're not adding something. I think that women's issues should be completely integrated into what we're already doing. And the theory is that women, you can't do anything effectively in foreign policy or any other endeavor without taking women into consideration, because women obviously are half the world's population. So if we're not taking their concerns into consideration, if we're not including them in our efforts, ultimately we're not going to be nearly as successful as we should be. So I think our thought is if we take their concerns into account, if we include them in our efforts, so for example, if we include them in peacekeeping efforts, if we...
Right, sorry.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Ambassador Russell, Nelson Mandela died last week, and huge impact on not just overall the world over, but also on women's issues, not just in his country, but in Africa. A few comments about his legacy that he's leaving behind, and how do you find strength for your own work in his life and in his work?
Well, of course, he is a historic figure, and I think you can see the impact he had not only in his own country, but in the world at large. And I think the importance that he stands for is that he moved his own country into the future by saying that he recognized that freedom for his people was critically important, and he stood for that through such terrible times in his country, and he never lost sight of the fact that freedom was his right and the right of all people. And we certainly believe that with respect to women, that free rights and human rights are critically important and that everybody deserves that, and he certainly stood for that. And so I think he's inspirational to people, certainly to me, to everyone around the world, and that's why there's such an outpouring of concern and love for him all over the world.
The United States is withdrawing from Afghanistan next year, and there is a lot of anxiety, not just here, but also in that region, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And your department has mentioned Afghanistan and Pakistan as one of your primary areas of work. Are you concerned that without having a solid agreement, quote unquote BSA, a bilateral security agreement with the Afghan government, your work can be adversely affected?
Well, I just returned from Afghanistan a couple of weeks ago, actually, and I met with many women there, many girls, and of course, we've made tremendous progress. The women there have made tremendous progress over the last decade, and I think that it's critically important that we continue that work, and we need to have a BSA in place. I am hopeful that that's going to happen because it's certainly in the interest of Afghanistan and it's in the interest of the United States to get that done. So I'm I'm cautiously optimistic that everyone will see that that's in the interest of Afghanistan and that will happen.
What is the biggest single issue in Pakistan that you deal with right now?
Well, I think from our perspective, of course, we want to make sure that everyone in Pakistan, women included, have full rights, and that we're very interested in making sure that the women there feel that they are full participants in their society, that they have full economic rights, full rights to education, and that they feel that they are, as empowered as everybody else in their society. And we're completely in favor of that and would be supportive in any way we can.
The United States has its own issues when it comes to women's rights. And I'm sure when you go talk to these societies, these leaders, they probably, offer some of their own comments on the issues here.
Of course.
What's your comment? What's your response?
I would say this, certainly every country follows its own path. The United States has its own challenges here. There are women here who are fighting hard for full economic rights, and but I think that the great thing about the United States is that we have full legal rights, and it means that every woman here has the right to pursue her education, certainly has economic opportunities, and that's the sort of thing that we want to support in places in other parts of the world. No country is perfect. That is certainly the case. We would never suggest that we are. I've worked for a long time on domestic violence issues, and that's something that is a continuing challenge in the United States. We've worked hard on it. We have good laws in place, but it continues to be something that we are struggling with. And despite some progress we've made, some real progress we've made, it continues to be an issue. And I think that every country has its own challenges. And as I said, we continue to work on it, and we continue to try to work with other countries in partnership to support the women in their countries as well.
I was reading about your, basically mandate of your office, and one of the programs that you have is propelling women entrepreneurs in Pakistan. So can you share some ideas how women can benefit, young girls in Pakistan can benefit from this program?
Well, it's interesting. I've met many women from Pakistan who are amazing and who are very interested in building their economic future of that country, and they're very energetic, very excited about the future. And so we were looking for opportunities to work together, women entrepreneurs here in the United States, Pakistani women here in the United States. We have a U.S.-Pakistan Women's Council that we're supporting here in the United States to support women here and in Pakistan, working together to really look for opportunities to work together. So I think, it's really trying to find kind of the common areas of interest and looking for opportunities to support those.
Malala Yousafzai, an international name now. I mean, everybody knows her. She's a household name around the world. Was she also a part of this program that, we supported her as some kind of an entrepreneur or a world leader in Pakistan?
She's not, I wouldn't say she's not a part of that program. I think that the interesting thing about Malala is that she's such an inspiration for girls around the world, for young women who are interested in an education. And I think she really represents the power of education for young women everywhere. And the fact that she continues to fight for her right to be educated and the right for all women to go to school. We know how important education is and how critically important it is for girls to have that option, and how it makes it much more likely that they will delay marriage, that they will, when they have children, that they'll have their own children educated well, that their children will be healthier, that they'll be vaccinated, and that their communities, their families or communities will be healthier and more prosperous. And so the results for everybody of a girl's education are tremendously important. And so we support that. She stands for that. I think she's so inspirational to so many people.
Just 16 years old, and
amazing.
The way she speaks, the convictions that she has.
She really is. Yeah. She's very courageous. And I have a young daughter who goes to school here in Washington, and she talks about her, and it's amazing. I think girls all around the world see her and know that there's something very special about her.
So that means Muslim societies in general, and Pakistan in particular, needs more role models, to look for the young girls to look up to.
I think girls all around the world need role models, and I would say young men too. I think that we can never forget that boys and men are critical to our work, to my work, because we can support girls' empowerment and girls' education, but men and boys are critical to that as well. They need to understand that girls play a critical role in their world and that girls need to be respected and valued. And you can't just say that to the girls. You need to say that to the boys. You need to say that to the fathers. And I think that message needs to go out to everybody. And
Is there anything that the civil society, especially in Pakistan and in other countries, can do to make this job easier for you? What is it that they can do to help you, to help their young women?
well, I think the single most important thing is that they can recognize the valuable contribution that these girls make to their world and to their society. And if they do that, if they understand that no society will ever be successful, no society will ever truly get ahead with only half its population being empowered, then I think they will understand the value that these girls have, and they will appreciate them, and they'll support them. They'll get them to school. They'll understand that they need to have economic opportunities. And if they do that, the girls will be better, their families will be better, and the whole society will be better. And that's good for everybody.
Ambassador, one last question.
Yes.
And I cannot resist asking this question. You are supposed to be, or known to be, a power couple in Washington. Your husband,
Wow.
Tom Donilon,
Yes.
who just actually
Yes.
in June retired or stepped down as the National Security Advisor at the White House. How do you deal with that perception or an image that you yourself, an ambassador, and a very important position at the Department of State, and of course your husband, is it an advantage or a disadvantage?
Well, I think
I'm sure it's an advantage, but let's hear from you.
Well, I mean, look, we've both been incredibly fortunate to be able to work with this president, with this vice president, secretary of state, all of whom are tremendously.
And you've served as the chief of staff for Dr.
Yes,
Jill Biden for almost 4 years.
Exactly. And all of these people, the First Lady, President, Dr. Biden, Vice President, Secretary of State, are all really committed to the issues that I care about and have been personally supportive, professionally supportive. And certainly my husband is supportive as well. And so I think we've been incredibly fortunate to be a part of an administration that cares so much about women's issues, that recognizes how important they are. And so I think that it's been a wonderful confluence of events, a great time in America to be a part of an administration that recognizes that women are critically important to the future of our country and the future of the world. So I think we've both been incredibly fortunate.
Great, Ambassador Russell.
Thank you.
Godspeed and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for all
I really
the work.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome back. You watched our conversation with Ambassador Cathy Russell. Today, we have another lovely guest here with us in Cafe DC. And it's just the continuation of our conversation with Ambassador Cathy Russell. This lady, Fakhra Khalid, she is the founder and owner and president of a company called The Moment Event Planning and Weddings. She has done so well. She's not just doing community events, but also doing some important US military events in and around the DC area. Welcome to Cafe DC, Fakhra. Thank you very much for joining us. You've been a successful entrepreneur yourself. You started, with limited resources, just yourself basically, and then, finally you got more esteem, more strength, and now you are, for the last 5 years, you have done some wonderful work in your own field, and the field is event planning. Not just that you do planning for some, local events, but military. So tell our audience, tell our viewer, how did you get here? How did you start your company first?
Actually, I started my company when, one of my family member, when my niece, she was getting married, and, I decided to do her event with the help of family. It was a hidden talent that came out at that particular event. And then, thanks God, and thanks to the community and, all the opportunities that this country provides us. I have started this company right after my niece's wedding. I created a company, and I was convinced that this is what I wanted to do in future, and you know, like then I started, and then I go on and on and on.
Fakhra, you, of course, I mean, this is such a great start. You know, started with your niece's wedding, and you realized that, you know, this is something which you could do for your living as business. And here you are, you know, after 5 years, a successful wedding and event planner. And I know you also planned Rima's wedding in Virginia, right? When she got married.
It was an honor for me to you know, provide my service for such a legendary, such a beautiful artist, and you know, I just I got lucky that Mr. Tariq Shahab, Dr. Tariq Shahab, he contacted me, and I was part of the wedding. I did decor, I did provide my services to decorate her wedding, and it was a great opportunity for me. And Rima ji, she also, I met her just for 5 minutes before couple of days before her wedding, and she just gave me her vision that what colors she wants to use, you know, she wants her wedding to be, and you know, like, and then I just went from there, and it turned out to be a very beautiful wedding.
I'm glad you said that. There's a perception about entrepreneurs, you know, when you start a business out of nothing, which you actually did, you know, based on your own talent, your passion, your background, and something that, you know, you so very much want to do. And so that's an entrepreneur, right? And so you are an entrepreneur. But there's a perception that entrepreneurs are basically just, you know, money making, greedy people. They just want to go and do something just for the money. Do you agree with that perception?
Not at all. You know, success of any business or entrepreneurship is not the money. You know, I am very passionate about what I'm doing, and I enjoy doing it. And I think the success is more like how many obstacles you have overcome doing something, or you know, or how happy you are, and you know, like what is your accomplishment. And you know, for me, money is one part, but for me the biggest reward is when my bride calls right from her wedding, if I'm not there, or next day, even from her honeymoon, that, you know, I have made her vision into a reality, her dream into a reality. That is the biggest reward for me. And you know, like, I'm really humble that I'm only event planner that does most of Fort Myers and Fort McNair's military events. You know, I am, it's like an ongoing contract that they have.
So, I mean, what you're saying is you do these events for them,
Yeah.
and you're the only event planner,
I'm the only
not just a Pakistani or a Muslim American woman, basically
in two of the military bases. I am the one who does all their events. You know, like they could be weddings, they could be retirement parties, they could be promotional parties, even the funerals. So I do all their events. I provide my services for their events.
So how did you get into this? I mean, what was the background, the chance?
They were changing their previous, you know, their previous event planner was about to get retired, and then one of the general, he was at one of the event that I organized, and I was at that event, and he asked the family who did this event, you know, who is the organizer of this, it was a beautiful event, it was a wedding, and they introduced me to him, and he said, you know, just meet him and call him and see if I can, you know, I can be qualified to do the events at Fort Myers, at Fort McNair's, and I have never done those before. Then I went, I had few meetings with the coordinators over there. I went through all the process, and then they were really happy with my work once I did. You know, the transition from previous event planner to me was very smooth.
But going back to the developing countries, the societies where women entrepreneurship is not very well established, and Pakistan is one of them. And when we talk to Ambassador Russell about these issues in Pakistan and other developing societies, she's also trying to push this idea that more young girls, young women come into business, and to help push the society forward. So what do you suggest we should do in Pakistan?
The most important thing that, in my opinion, is to provide the atmosphere and circumstances for women, comfortable atmosphere, so that the women can come out and do whatever they want to do. Like for instance, for here, I never knew that I have, I got the opportunity, I did it, and then I don't say that it was very easy to, but it was not difficult. Like when you want to do something over here, there are resources, there are, like there is a support, there are different programs. Like for instance, to start my business, I needed the loan to get the inventory and stuff like that. It was easily accessible.
So here you get, being a woman, and
Yeah.
being a minority woman, you get some privileges.
Some
right?
privileges, and then I also like to take this opportunity to thank to my community, especially Pakistani American community. They have supported me, they stood behind me, and I was the first Pakistani event planner in tri-state area, and alhamdulillah, now I see a lot of new people, they are coming in this field, and it's nice. I think everybody who wants to follow their dreams or they have some talent, they should come out, and they should have opportunities, they should have proper resources and proper guidance. So in our country, what I think is the lack is the guidance, the program, the resources for women, or comfortable atmosphere so that they can go out and work and follow their dreams.
Fakhra, you're from Pakistan. You've seen some of those issues when you were, I'm sure, growing up in Pakistan. And you also faced challenges and problems here when you were trying to establish your business. So can you share some of the similarities of those challenges and problems that even this developed society has, and someone like you has to go through those challenges and issues before you become a successful entrepreneur?
Challenges are, balancing the time with, one of the challenges, balancing the time for your, between your business and your family and friends. But I was lucky enough, my family understood my passion, they understood the need that, if I have to be successful, I have to. So I have, in Pakistan, I think, or over here even, we see that some families, especially some husbands, they don't support their wives, or brothers, they don't support their sisters, to go out, they will be, I think they are not very comfortable. Sometimes this, like I have meetings late night, I have meetings on the weekends, but if I don't have the support from my family, I won't be able to do it. So
family support
is
an even challenge here. And lucky you that you're not just doing events for the Pakistani American community for like a smaller market, but you're into mainstream now.
I do events for Arabic community also. I've done a lot of Persian weddings, Somalian weddings, so multicultural, but the thing is, over here the resources are available. I was not aware of different cultures before, like when I started, but whenever I planned a wedding or for some other ethnic or other countries, other culture, it was easy for me to get all the resources.
Fakhra, thank you very much for being with us here today. This is a great conversation, and congratulations on a successful business. You have really done it. And I wish you can also guide some more people, some more young women in the Pakistani American community here.
Yeah.